Welcome back, our dear viewers. The sun illuminated on Wednesday, the 22nd of February 2023, the face of King Ramesses II. The statue in Abu Simbel Temple in southern Aswan for nearly 21 minutes in a rare phenomenon that takes place twice a year. Aswan Governor Ashraf Atiyah and Deputy Tourism Minister and Antiquities Gheda Shalabi, as well as leaderships at the Tourism and Antiquities Ministry and Aswan Governorate, witnessed this unique phenomenon. Also, more than 6,200 tourists, both foreign and Egyptian, gathered at Abu Simbel Temple to watch the alignment of the sun on the statue of King Ramesses II face. The phenomenon started at 6:21 a.m. and continued for nearly 21 minutes. And widely regarded as a feat of pharaonic engineering, the biannual solar alignment sees the sun passing over the face of the statue of King Ramesses II in Abu Simbel once on February 22nd and again on October 22nd. King Ramesses is known as Ramesses the Great, the third pharaoh of the 19th dynasty of Egypt, who led many military campaigns in the Levant. At the age of 14, Ramesses II took over the reign of power from his father Seti I. Our dear viewers, to shed more light on this very interesting topic, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Amr Atef, a PhD in Heritage and Museum Studies. Dr. Atef, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Doctor, the sun illuminated on Wednesday the face of King Ramesses II statue in Abu Simbel Temple in south of Aswan for nearly 21 minutes in this very rare phenomenon that takes place twice a year. Can you shed more light about this very special phenomenon?
Of course, yes. The illumination of the sun on the statues of Ramses II in the Holy of Holies at the Temple of Abu Simbel is something that people would wait for, every year. And it happens on the, as you mentioned, at the 22nd of October,
yes,
and the 22nd of February of every year.
Yes.
Before we talk about that, we should mention that the Temple of Abu Simbel is considered to be one of the greatest temples of Egypt that was built by King Ramses II. And they say about him that, about the Temple of Abu Simbel, that those who listed the ancient wonders of the world haven't seen Abu Simbel. And if they have seen Abu Simbel, it would have listed in as one of the ancient wonders of the world.
Of course.
The sun illuminates on the statue of Ramses II, traveling for 60 meters, all the way overpassing the colonnade, the hypostyle hall of the temple, and actually the design of the Holy of Holies is spectacular because the ancient Egyptian architect built the temple in a way that the sun would rise on the face of Ramses, yet he kept the statue of Ptah, which is the god of the darkness, for the ancient, in the shade. So it does not hit the face of God Ptah, the god of the darkness. This phenomenon that happens twice a year is considered to be the most famous event that happens in the southern part of the country of Egypt, you know. And people from all over the world actually wait and come to watch this phenomena that has been discovered.
Yes.
I'm talking about this phenomena that has been discovered by Emilia Edward, and that took place in 1874. You know, she was a British writer, and she's the one that discovered this idea of the sunshine on the face of the statue of Ramses. And she, registered that in her book that was published in 1899. and the book's name was 1,000 Miles Over the River Nile. So that was the first time that they talked ever about this, this phenomenon that happened in Abu Simbel.
Yes.
The temple has been moved by the UNESCO.
Yes.
And they say that building the temple, and of course we know that the temple was built by King Ramses II.
Indeed.
And it took them around 17 years to build this temple, you know. So it was built by Ramses II to commemorate his victory in the Battle of Kadesh over the Hittites, and also to prove and to spread the cult of Amon-Ra in the southern part of the country, and to prove that Ramses II ruled all the way to the territories of the south. Now, this temple, as a matter of fact, was built to commemorate this victory of Ramses II, and he also built for his wife, Queen Nefertari, the temple next to his temple. And lots of people only talk about the temple of Ramses, when also the temple of his wife, Queen Nefertari, is only a few meters away of the temple of Ramses II.
Yes.
The thing is, both temples are considered to be a World Heritage Site, and both temples are considered to be the most important, maybe, in the southern part of the country. And as you said, they have moved the temple by the UNESCO. That costed $40 million between 1964 and 1968, and they cut it to pieces. It has been dismantled and been moved away from the water of Lake Nasser to save the temple and preserve it.
Yes. Dr. Atef, also this year more than 6,200 tourists, both foreign and Egyptians, gathered at Abu Simbel to watch this very unique phenomenon, the alignment of the sun on the face of King Ramses II. To what extent this phenomenon is helping to boost the tourism, especially in Abu Simbel and Aswan, as well as in Luxor as well?
As a matter of fact, the temple of Abu Simbel is considered to be one of the highlights of the trip for the travelers who come to Egypt all the way. And I know personally that lots of the travelers who come to Egypt, they pick and choose the tour operators that have the temple of Abu Simbel visit included in their tour itinerary.
Yes.
So it's considered to be one of the highlights. Now, as you kindly mentioned, that there are 2,600 visitors.
6,200.
6,200 visitors visited this temple today. I mean, the word of mouth, because amongst those visitors, there are media people. There are, TV broadcasters. There are, newspaper reporters. So this will spread the word, and the word of mouth is very important.
Yes.
And that will for sure add an added value to the visit to Egypt, and also would increase the number of visitors. But you know what? People are not going to come only visit, because you mentioned also Luxor, so they are not going to only come and visit the temple of Abu Simbel, but that will include as well the rest of the itinerary. And so they would go to Luxor, they would do the cruise between Luxor and Aswan, they would enjoy the temperature, of Egypt. I mean, as you know that our temperature is very suitable for most of the European and most of the American and travelers from all over the world, especially with the, I would say, the energy issues now in Europe. So lots of people would prefer to come and spend their holidays in Egypt, where they have the warmth, and it's considered to be a good winter resort for lots of the European travelers.
Yes. Also, the statue of King Ramses II, which is now in the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, in the main hall, welcoming the visitors, was illuminated as well during the same date. How do you see here the significance of this, and to what extent this could be an attraction to the tourists as well to come and visit King Ramses also in the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and this phenomenon or this illumination for the statue also in the museum as well?
Well, first we have to mention that the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, is considered to be, it's not only a museum, they call it a city, of artifacts. They now call it the city of artifacts, and it's considered to be the largest museum that have Egyptian artifacts all over the world. The way the gem is displayed and designed, they have the latest technique of museology and musealization in the Grand Egyptian Museum. It's a kingship museum. They moved the artifacts from different parts of the country and the way it's displayed. And now they started to open and do like soft opening, and some visitors now can go and visit the gem. People are waiting and expecting. I'm talking about travelers from all over the world. Not only travelers, guess what? Egyptians as well are waiting to visit the gem, the Grand Egyptian Museum. And maybe the postponing of the inauguration of the gem came to the benefit of the gem, because people now, it increased, I would say, the ambition and increased the curiosity of visiting the gem. You cannot imagine that everybody who comes on tours now, they talk to their tour operators, they talk to their travel agencies, and they want to know when the gem will open because they want to visit the gem. So that's when we talk about the gem or the Grand Egyptian Museum, and I'm sure that the ceremony of the inauguration of the gem will be one of a kind, if I can say. Now, back to the illumination of the sun on the statue of Ramses II, connected to the idea of the illumination of the sun on the temple of Abu Simbel, I would say this will make a trip of a lifetime. People would not only go visit the temple of Abu Simbel for this sun illumination, but they would also visit the gem and try to adjust their tours according. So that's a good advertisement still. And the idea of the sun for the ancient Egyptians was very important because of Ra, the sun god for the ancient Egyptians. And Egypt, up till today, is famous for the sun. So if we connected the idea of the sun and the weather and the shiny weather and atmosphere and sun all over the year, plus the idea of the illumination of the sun on the statues of Ramses, I think that will be an added value for the tour to Egypt.
Indeed. Dr. Atef, also the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, launched the first phase of a project to develop the Egyptian Museum in Cairo's Tahrir Square. Can you tell us more about this project?
Of course, Mr. Ahmed Isa, the Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, has announced and attended a ceremony a few days ago to, integrate the new restoration and restoration work and improving the display halls. It was a grant from the United Nations, from the European Union, and by the way, the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities, it's a very good move because people have been asking wide and straight about the Egyptian Museum of Antiquities. They ask all the time if the Egyptian Museum would last, if the Egyptian Museum would still be there, especially after opening or the GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and opening the Egyptian Museum of Civilization, the NEMIC. So people were very much concerned about this heritage building in the downtown Cairo, in the most famous, square in Egypt, the Tahrir Square. So the idea is the Museum of Antiquities in Tahrir, the Egyptian Museum, which was opened in 1901, is considered to be also a heritage building. So it moved from being waiting on a waiting list of UNESCO sites to be a heritage building. It's already, been established as a heritage building. The Egyptian Museum of Tahrir is considered to be one of the oldest museums in the world, and the oldest museum that was built for Egyptian artifacts and was built to be a museum. In other words, it was not built like a palace and has been moved, turned to a museum, but it has been originally built to be a museum, you know. So this actually came, the ceremony of maintaining, restoring the display halls in the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square came in the right time, because now people won't be concerned and they would still put the Egyptian Museum on their tour itineraries.
Yes.
The building itself is a heritage building, and actually the design of the museum is very spectacular and impressive. So I think it's a good timing and a good move, and this will be also another added value. Now, also the private sector will be involved, as Mr. Ahmed Isa, the Minister of Antiquities, said, that the private sector also will be involved in the renovation of the museums, and this is also something that's very positive. The idea is also they rearranged and the halls. They had the new hall of tennis that has been opened for the visitors. They had another hall of the new kingdom that has been opened. So people can see the work, and it's preparing the museum to accommodate more travelers. As Mr. Ahmed Isa, the Minister of Antiquities, said, that we are expecting an increase of 30 to 40% in tourism by the coming season. So all this work is getting the museum ready for the display of the artifacts. We cannot also ignore the role of the tourism police and antiquities in taking care of the museum. We should really give them the credit for the protection they do, and for the taking care of the security of the Museum of Antiquities in Tahrir, and not only in Tahrir, but also in the different sites of Egypt. So I think this will be a very positive move for the increasement that's expected for tourism in Egypt, as tourism is considered to be maybe #1 industry for Egypt, and good for the GDP of Egypt in general.
Indeed. Finally, Dr. Atef, can you shed a quick light on the most important latest discoveries that we did have in Egypt, archaeological discoveries?
Well, speaking of the archaeological discoveries, we need actually a full program to talk about the discoveries, because every day there is another discovery. There is a new discovery. If we speak about Saqqara, we should mention the discoveries of the Bobastian discovery, for instance, the Bobastian tombs that has been discovered by Dr. Mustafa Waziri. And the thing, the man in charge of the Antiquities Department, Dr. Mustafa Waziri. And the thing which makes this discovery actually phenomenal and actually special is that all those who were involved in this discovery were Egyptian archaeologists for the first time. We're talking about the whole project that was all done by Egyptian archaeologists without any aid of any, I would say, foreign archaeologists. So that makes this discovery special. Also, of course, the Golden City, the lost Golden City, that was discovered in El Gourna on the west bank of Luxor, and that was discovered by Dr. Zahi Hawass, the famous Egyptologist, and the former Minister of Antiquities. So he discovered actually a city which is named as the Golden City, or the Lost Golden City, and this will add to the Egyptology discipline, if I can say, because it will show us how the ancient Egyptians used to live in the past. So that's another thing that we should mention. The last thing is the city that has been discovered in front of the Luxor Temple by Dr. Mustafa Waziri, which is also under the palace, under the house that was there. They discovered the whole city and they are still working on it. This is where the ancient Egyptians used to live.
Indeed, Dr. Amr Atef, PhD in Heritage and Museum Studies. Thank you so much for your very precious input, sir, and have a lovely evening. And our dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of this edition of our program, Cairo Local Time. I'm Rabia signing off.